Hey there, I'm Adrienne, transformation coach and your go-to gal for navigating grief and loss. On this show, we're not shying away from tough conversations. Let's talk about how we're really feeling and how to show up in our lives even though so many hard things have happened. Loss and grief are tough topics, but witnessing each other's pain and getting really honest about what we want our lives to look like in our next chapter is the way forward. You're not broken. You deserve happiness. And even though you might not think that's possible, or even feel like your life is over, I'm here to show you that you can feel peace, purpose, and joy again. Let's talk about all things change, loss, and grief, and how to move forward so we can create a life we love. Welcome to the Living with Loss podcast. Hey there, welcome back. I'm Adrienne. Today, we're going to be talking about feeling stuck and how to start moving forward. This can be a tricky topic, especially if you've recently experienced loss. The idea of moving on and moving forward can be a bit jarring sometimes. And I just want to say, first of all, if you're in grief, whether it's early grief or you're later in your grief journey, we never really move on. Moving on implies that we forget or we leave behind whatever happened. Moving forward, to me, is honoring that experience, carrying it with you, but still living in the present and having hope for the future. I just wanted to get that distinction out of the way, up front and center, first off, because again, I know that can be a little bit jarring depending on where you are in your grief journey when you hear the idea of moving forward. I also want to say that whatever you've got going on in your life, I get sometimes life can just pile on, right? It's one ridiculous, absurd, difficult thing after another. Your plans have gone completely off the rails and you're trying to figure out, well, where do I go from here? Sometimes that can feel really overwhelming. We can get stuck in this place of inaction because we're afraid to take any action. I want to say that that's normal. If you've gone through something difficult, if you're in the midst of something difficult, feeling stuck is perfectly normal. You've got all sorts of feelings because of whatever happened. You've probably got some anxiety about what's going to happen next, especially if you feel yourself on shaky ground or some uncharted territory. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not weird. It's not like you're lazy or unmotivated or you can't figure things out. It's nothing like that. It's a perfectly normal thing to be going through when you're going through something difficult or just after. So I wanted to acknowledge that upfront as well. You are where you're supposed to be. Even if it's like a really uncomfortable, stagnant feeling, you got to be in it sometimes in order to get out of it. So in this episode, we're going to cover some different ground. We want to talk about what's really holding you back, the power of setting small, achievable goals, shifting your mindset, and some simple actions that you can take in your daily life to create momentum. I also want to talk about community and why building community is really important. Before I go off on any other tangents, I want to jump right into the material. And I also want to say thank you for tuning in. I usually say it at the end, but again, it's never lost on me that you choose to share your time listening to whatever it is that I have to say this week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Being stuck, challenging place to be. And it's a place we all find ourselves in from time to time. A lot of times people feel stuck because of grief. There could be some guilt. You could be riding that roller coaster of emotion still, and you're not really sure where to go next. You're still kind of consumed by the emotion of whatever that change or loss was, and that could be really challenging. You might have a fear of failure, right? Maybe your loss, maybe your change is something like you just lost your job. Maybe you got a divorce, had a breakup, and you're making those losses almost about you and what you're capable of. And you're afraid you're going to do something wrong as you step into what's next. Maybe you just have a lack of direction. And this can come from when there's a lot of change, when things have been really shaken up. Sometimes we feel like we don't know where we are, never mind where we're going. Everything's changed. Everything's different. Everything feels weird. You don't like the same stuff. You're not interested in the same things. You don't have the same level of energy. So you're trying to like parse through all of that in your mind. And then on top of it, you're supposed to figure out what's next. So you just have this lack of direction. Maybe you're not interested in anything, or maybe you're interested in everything. And so you kind of just stall out and stay where you're at. And that kind of leads into that overwhelm. If you have too many choices, not enough choices, and you don't know where to begin to look, feels like it's way too much. You have to change too much to get on the track you want to be on, right? We could just get really overwhelmed and just stay where we're at. And I get it. I do. I have been there. Feeling stuck is one of the most challenging feelings because there is a thought going on that's keeping you there. But figuring out what that is or what that fear is, that is challenging stuff. It's important to acknowledge that if you're going through some type of life transition, that in itself can lead to a feeling of paralysis. When you have a big change, a big transition, you just moved, somebody died, your pet just passed. I had 3 dogs die within a year's time frame, and all of these dogs were with me ranging from 18 years to 12 years. That threw me off. Like I couldn't hold focus. I couldn't put my attention on the projects I wanted to put my attention on. I was very emotional. It just kind of kept me stagnant for a bit, right? Like all different types of grief, all different types of change, transitions, that happens to us. That paralysis, that's normal. It's us keeping ourselves safe. It's kind of like that fight, flight, or freeze mode, that nervous system regulation. Sometimes when there's so much going on and our systems are overwhelmed and we're not sure what to do next, we just freeze up. Again, nothing wrong with you. That's just a physiological, biological response that we all could have. But I want to go back to the idea of understanding what's holding you back. That really is the first step to moving forward. It's very helpful to work with a coach on this because a coach can ask you questions. Like I know for me, when I'm in session with my clients, I'll ask them questions about what's going on, what they think about things, how they're feeling. And for me as a listener, it can be easier for me to pick up cues or some underlying stuff that may not even be said out loud, or I can recognize some body language, change in tone that maybe you may not see in yourself. If you're not working with a coach, if you're not working with somebody, journaling is the next thing that I recommend. When you get stuff onto the page, and I know I talk about journaling a lot, but again, I've been doing it since second grade in a lot of different forms, and it has been probably the single most beneficial thing that I have done for myself all of these years. If you want to just kind of pop out your journal, write down some specific things that are making you feel stuck. Is it that you're sad all the time? That you have low energy? You're not sure what you're interested in? You don't have any confidence that you could do something new? You feel scared. You think you're going to fail. You're afraid of failing in front of other people. Whatever that might be for you, right? Get out a journal and write that down. What is making you feel stuck? You may not hit on it the first time. You may have to do this a few times. A lot of times people think, okay, if I journal about this one time, I'm going to have all these aha moments and I'm going to be like free as a bird and all my questions answered. Those of us that have journaled for a long time know sometimes you have to keep revisiting some of the same questions to just peel back the layers. Maybe start with 10 minutes. And if you don't feel like you had a major breakthrough, you can keep writing if you feel up to it. If you don't, revisit it a couple days later, maybe even the next day, and just kind of really dig into that question. What is making you feel stuck? Whatever those things might be, maybe it's one, maybe it's several, I want you to reflect on how those things are affecting your thoughts, meaning how are you thinking about them? What are the stories that you're telling yourself about those things? Get all of that down on the page. What are you thinking? Maybe you catch yourself in the thought loop. You jot it down as you go. Or maybe when you're sitting there journaling, you can really reflect on what those thoughts are. And then from the thoughts, I want you to go to the emotions. So when you're thinking these thoughts, I'll never figure this out. I'm a jerk if I create a full life when they're not alive anymore. Whatever the thoughts are that you're having, I can't do this. I can barely get through the day. How am I supposed to figure out what I want in the next year? Whatever your thoughts are, whatever you're thinking, how does that make you feel? What emotions come up for you? Are you angry? Are you sad? What does that feel like? If you can label it with an emotion, fantastic. Or maybe you can pinpoint a feeling in your body where that lies. Is it your stomach? Maybe you get like an upset stomach or maybe some butterflies. For me, when things are bothering me, when things don't feel great, I feel a ton of tension in my neck and my shoulders. For me, if I catch myself in a thought loop and I feel that upper body tension, I know this is not serving me. It's just not. I don't need to even overanalyze what I'm thinking because I have gotten so in tune with that feeling that I know, hey, that's a signal that this thought is not serving me. And I dive into that thought. What am I thinking? because that feeling, that physical sensation in my body tells me that something's amiss. So again, try to work through the thoughts about what you think is keeping you stuck. Reflect on what emotions come up when you're thinking those thoughts. How do you feel in your body? And then I want you to reflect on how those thoughts, those emotions, how they're affecting your actions or your inaction. Are they keeping you from dreaming about what's possible? Or do you know what's possible and you actually have a goal, but it's keeping you from breaking down and going after it? Or maybe it's you've got all the steps laid out, but you're not sure what to do next. Or maybe you tried one thing, it didn't go the way you wanted to. So now you're a little shy on trying again or trying something else. A little nervous, a little scared there. Whatever that is, how is it impacting your actions? This is going to get you a lot of awareness on what's going on. Because again, when you recognize what's holding you back and how those things are impacting you from your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, that's where you can start to narrow your focus and start making some changes. And there might be certain things that trigger that stuck feeling for you. Maybe it's when you're around a certain person or when you talk to a certain person. Maybe it's when you're at work and you're in the middle of a project that you don't feel really confident about, and that's causing you to feel less confident in other areas. Maybe when you're giving yourself some time and space to grieve whatever losses you may have had, and that those emotions take over. You feel like you can't claw your way out of that. So you're never going to move forward. You're going to stay stuck. So I want you to really try to identify the things that are triggering the feeling of stuck for you. If you identify what are the things that make you feel stuck, how does that affect your thoughts? How does it affect your emotions? How does it affect your actions? Just getting that awareness in itself will give you those, oh, wait, okay, I can do this when that difficult thing is happening so I don't kind of shrink back and freeze up. It gives you that awareness. It gives you a starting point. So I want you to journal about that. If you're not working with a coach, that is probably the best way for you to get clarity on what's causing the stuck feeling. Something else we can do when we feel stuck is set small, achievable goals. A lot of people stay stuck because their goals feel too big or too overwhelming. I'm not saying don't dream big. I want you to dream as big as you possibly can, even beyond what you think you can dream. I want you to go there. I want you to want the most spectacular life that you can possibly dream up for yourself, regardless of what has already happened in your life. Those things have happened. That hard stuff, that's never going to change. That already happened. What can change is what happens next. So I want you to envision the most audacious life that you can for yourself. And so maybe you do that and you're like, well, there's no way that's going to happen. The thing is, I think it's like an old saying, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And that's kind of this, right? If you have a really big, audacious goals, you got to start with one and you have to break it down into the tiniest manageable steps. Now, if you are like smooth sailing, excelling at life, everything's going great, you've got momentum, you could probably tackle things in bigger chunks. Probably don't need the steps to be quite as small. But if you've had your butt kicked by life and you're in a challenging place emotionally, maybe you're lacking confidence, you're not sure how to get back into the day to day, how to feel joy again, how to go after your dreams, we're going to make it manageable by making it small. Again, the dream doesn't have to be small. The steps to get there have to be really, really small. We want to make the goals broken down into as tiny steps as we possibly can. Bite-sized, turtle steps, teeny, teeny, tiny. You look at it and you're like, oh, I could do that. There's no hesitation there. There's no, I don't know how I'm going to tackle this. I don't have the time, the energy, the this, the that, whatever excuse comes up. You look at that and you know, I can do that. That's how small I want you to make it. So when you see that, you know you could check that off. It takes time to break something down like this. But anything that's worth something is going to take time and energy. So if you really want a change in your life, if you really want to go after a goal, you got to invest some time to break it down into something that's manageable for you. That's going to reduce overwhelm. It's going to reduce the feeling of stuck because you're going to always, at least until you reach that goal, right? Like you're going to have this path to follow. You're not going to be wondering what's next. Once you do that one little thing on the list, you go to the next little thing on the list. Gives you a roadmap, an easy to follow roadmap. And knowing where to go next, that's everything, especially when you're going through a difficult time. So if you invest that time up front to break this down into super manageable goals, you'll find that as you check them off, you're going to build momentum and you're going to move forward. We're going to take some action here. Maybe open that notebook back up. Set one simple achievable goal. Maybe it's a 15-minute walk. I say that because when life has gone, to hell in a handbasket, a walk, 15 minutes of walking can change your perspective and change your feeling, your outlook on your entire day. I know this because I do this every day. And I try to do it twice a day when things are really tough. And that's not my regular workout. Like that is just a thing I do for myself. Set a small achievable goal for today. And I want you to make it something that you can achieve today. Not 3 weeks from now, not 2 days from now, something that you desire for yourself. Maybe it's around taking care of yourself because establishing those foundational habits is so critical as a building block to going after the bigger dreams. So maybe it's something that has to do with taking care of yourself. Like I said, a 15-minute walk. I want you to put it down. I want you to commit to it, and I want you to go do it. Because once you see that you can do that, you'll remember that you could do a lot more. I want to talk about shifting your perspective. So feeling stuck, it's often tied to a fixed mindset, meaning you don't think that things can change. You think you're born with a fixed amount of talent, a fixed amount of skill. You can't learn anything that's going to change your station, change your abilities, right? Like you think things are very set in stone. So if things are set in stone and there's no improving and there's no changing and there's no, I can't learn this skill, of course you can't see a way forward. You're going to feel stuck. That's normal. So we want to shift from I'm stuck to I'm learning, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Maybe you don't know exactly what you need to learn, but maybe you're taking those steps. I'm taking steps to work towards the future that I want. And we're figuring out what those steps are. But believing that you're learning and that you're taking steps, that you're in process, that you can make it happen, that is going to shift your energy around going after your goals. Some people like affirmations, some people don't. I do. I like affirmations. And the reason I like them is because I am somebody that can have some negative self-talk. I can beat myself up. I can say not so nice things to myself. And so I know that if I can say some not so great things to myself, I can turn that around and say nice things to myself. I can say positive, affirming things to myself. And I need to hear those things because otherwise, if it's just negative chatter all the time, that's not going to work. That's not going to help me. It's not going to make me feel good about my day, my life. So for me, I like affirmations. You may want to come up with an affirmation, maybe an I am statement. I am strong. I am capable. I'm worthy of good things. Whatever you want to come up with, whatever serves you, whatever makes you feel empowered, come up with a personal affirmation. And when you're in that, I can't do this, I'm stuck, this isn't going to work, all of those negative thoughts, that fixed mindset type of thought, I want you to say the affirmation to yourself. I am learning. I can figure this out. I'm the type of woman that figures things out. I'm the type of woman that gets through my worst days. Whatever your affirmation, write it down and make it a mantra. Let it be a reminder. Put it where you can see it. Put it on a sticky note. Put it where you can see it. So you can remind yourself what you're capable of. When that negative self-talk takes over, you have those words to remind you. Okay, those are just thoughts. Doesn't have to be true. And you can look at the empowering thought and think, okay, that's the one I'm going to lean into, because sometimes it really is a choice. It is so important when you feel stuck to take one small action every day. Again, you don't have to know what the big thing is that you're going after. There's this belief that we have to have it all figured out. That's the important thing, right? Like we all know exactly what our destination is. And we do need to have, I think, goals and hope for the future and things that we're working towards because it gives us purpose. It gives us something to go after. It helps us stay out of that sad place that we can sometimes go into when things are really hard. So if you have something that you're working towards, and I don't mean bypassing the hard with the work, I've done that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I just mean something that kind of keeps you forward focused, but that's something where you can still enjoy the moment, the working towards, right? Like you don't want just something that's going to give you satisfaction out of the thing like when you get there. You want the thing that you're going to enjoy working towards. It's all about the journey, not the destination sort of thing. I want you to keep that in mind. So, taking one small action every day. Momentum, it builds when you take small, consistent actions. Consistency wins every time. It doesn't have to be like this big grand thing. You don't have to do a 2-hour workout to all of a sudden be the strongest person ever. Every day, if you have workouts where you're working on specific muscle groups, you're building your cardio, you're building your strength, right? Like you're working towards building that strength, those weightlifting goals. You're not going to do that suddenly in one day in one session. No, you got to work towards it. It's consistency. You have to get consistent with your diet, have to get consistent with your workouts. It's never just one thing that gets you what you want. It's the consistent action. So I want you to take consistent action every day. And you might be wondering, well, if I don't know what I want right now, how am I supposed to take consistent action? What am I taking consistent action on? I like to say, if you don't know what to focus on yourself. And to some people, that might sound selfish or weird. But the thing is, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling energized, if you're not well rested, if you're not consuming food that nourishes your body, if you're not moving your body, if you're not doing the things that you need to do to help you feel good in your body, like maybe that's creativity, it's playing, whatever it is for you, you need to do the things that take care of you to be able to pursue the things that you want in your life. You need to do the things that make you feel good in order to help everybody else. So the small, consistent action, the one small thing every day, if you don't have a specific thing you're working towards every day, the thing you're working towards is becoming the best version of yourself. Feeling as good as you possibly can, no matter what's going on. That's the thing you're focusing on. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be dramatic. Just simple daily actions create powerful change over time. I just ran a self-care challenge, which consisted of 5 days of journaling and walking for my community online. I'm going to be running a few more challenges through the end of the year. So hop on over to Instagram or get on my mailing list and you'll get the details for those. And really all it is creating these habits that are really easy, they're simple, they're sustainable, and they're nourishing for you. Because when you're taken care of, you have clarity, you have energy. You can get out of the rut that you're in and start working towards the life that you dream that you might have one day. But if we don't establish some baseline good habits, that's going to stay out of reach. Take one small, consistent action every day. If you don't know what to focus on, you're focusing on you. I think you should be taking consistent action that focuses on you every single day. And I think that will fuel the other areas of your life. But we can put that in terms of a goal. If you have a goal, right, you have to take consistent action towards that goal every single day. If there's not one specific goal you're working on right now, you're working on yourself always. It's not that there's anything wrong with you, but you need to be taken care of. You need to be nourished. You need to feel good in your body. These things are important if you want health, vitality, happiness, purpose in the other areas of your life. The key here is you don't want to overwhelm yourself. That's why I keep saying it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It's just one small action. I invite you to borrow 15 minutes of journaling, 15 minutes of walking. Pick one of them or stack them. I like to stack them. That works really well for me. And even if it feels super small and insignificant, it's going to create positive momentum. Now, I want to talk about building a support system and a community. And I know sometimes online when I talk about this or I'm in a group and I make a comment about this, somebody says, well, what if I don't have friends right now? Or what if I just moved and I don't know anybody? Or what if I'm not getting along great with my family right now? All of that stuff is so challenging. But the thing is, when you feel stuck, when you're in a rut, that is easier to manage when you have people around you who offer encouragement and accountability. Community and connection, especially if you're going through grief, if you're going through some type of transition, that is so vital. Finding people that you feel safe enough to talk about what you're going through, that can be a game changer for your life. So there are different ways that you can build up a support system. Maybe you don't have anybody in your physical everyday life. Maybe you're not close to your family right now. You're in a place where you don't know anybody around you. I want you to push yourself outside of your comfort zone and do some things in your local area that you have an interest in. Maybe it's going to a book club. Maybe it's going to a workout. Maybe it's a meetup at a coffee shop. I want you to look at different community activities, different things going on in your area, and go and try to meet some people, establish connections if you don't have any. And if you're like, hey, hold on a second, that is way too much. I'm just trying to be in my PJs and like get through the day, and I'm not trying to, go out and like, yeah, that's not what I'm doing right now. I'm still like kind of cocooning and I don't need that. Okay. I want you to get online. Maybe it's joining a group coaching program. Maybe it's joining a free challenge where there are other people doing the same things as you. So you have that common community aspect, that bonding aspect, and you meet some people. I don't say to do this because it's like, maybe this will help you, or, it's like a dream or a theory. No, I talk about this because I do this myself. There are business groups that I'm in where I regularly meet weekly with other people that are in the group, and we update each other on our progress and what are we having challenges with. Same thing with grief. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, my mom has a lung cancer diagnosis. It's terminal. I am in a grief group that I meet once a month with, and we talk about our grief and how that's impacting our life. I host these things for other people as well. I have meetups that I'll put on my website. It's a grief circle. I think I'm shifting towards an empowerment session where we're going to talk about the challenges, but then we're going to work on moving forward with those challenges. It's important to meet your people, because having people that support you and uplift you, that will change everything. It truly will. And it can be so difficult if you're shy, if you're uncomfortable getting out in front of new people. But the benefits that it will give you, I promise, outweigh the discomfort you're going to feel in the moment. I want you to remember, progress, no matter how small, is still progress. I know I kind of threw a lot at you here. We talked about first recognizing what's holding you back, what makes you feel stuck. We talked about setting small, achievable goals. Talked about shifting your perspective. Talk about taking one small action every day. And if you're not sure what that action should be, it should be for you, to make you feel better, to take care of you. And we talked about building a support system. And that last one can be challenging. And I get that. I want you to try something from this episode, whether it's the journaling exercise, getting out and walking, breaking down a big goal into super small steps and making a plan. Whatever it is for you that feels right for you at this point in your life, I want you to try one of these things because it's going to help you build momentum. I hope this has reminded you how important it is just to take small, tiny steps towards moving forward. We don't have to stay stuck. There are things we can do to get unstuck. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you haven't already, I started sharing some of my very personal writing over on my Substack page. So if you check out my Substack, the link will be in the notes. It's just under my name. And the newsletter itself is called Inside Voice. It's a journaling method that I do for myself that I share also with my coaching clients. If you have any interest in kind of learning more about me and kind of how my mind thinks and the things that I struggle with, that is all over on my Substack. So please come over, read some of the entries, sign up. You'll get it to your inbox every week. I release a new post every Friday. I would love to see you over there. So again, I hope this has been helpful and we will talk soon. Have a great week. That's it for today's episode, my friends. Thanks so much for joining me on the Living with Loss podcast. Please like and follow the show so you don't miss an episode. If you're looking for more grief support, grab my free guide, 5 Essential Tools for Immediate Relief from Grief, even if you don't think that's possible. Head on over to adriancrowley.com and download it. Remember, you may not have chosen all the changes or losses in your life, but you get to choose what happens next. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Until then, have a fantastic week.